So turning it over to PG&E, we have Sarah and Les. They'll be talking about PSPS events. A couple years ago, it kind of made the news with the first round of events due to, the conditions being, for lack of a better term, perfect for wildfire activities. And a lot has changed since then in terms of what we know about the events and how people are notified. So it's really great to have them here today to give us the latest on what's happening in terms of PSPS events. So I'll turn it over to Les and Sarah.
Thank you for taking the time to meet with us today to discuss our community wildfire safety program. I'm Sarah with PG&E, and today we want to talk about what we're doing to reduce the threat of wildfire in San Ramon, Contra Costa, and system-wide, and the opportunities for us to work together to improve the Public Safety Power Shutoff program. I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Les. Take it away.
Great. Good morning, everybody. Hope you can hear me, first of all. But we appreciate being here and taking this opportunity to give you updates on the work that we've been doing in Contra Costa County, in particular the San Ramon area. The first slide we have here is an overview of the customers we serve in Contra Costa County. So nearly 500,000 customers in the county total, of which 17,600 are in the high fire threat districts. And I'll explain the high fire threat district here in just a minute. We have over 2,000 miles of distribution lines in Contra Costa County, and about 450 of those are in, again, the higher fire threat area. Of our transmission lines, 907 total miles, and 430 of those in the high fire threat area. So you can see from the, from the map in the middle, that's the city of San Ramon. The high fire threat districts are those areas that CAL FIRE, Cal OES, the state of California, and the utility companies have deemed extreme threat areas for potential wildfires. And so these are tiered locations. The areas that are non-colored within the city are tier 1, meaning the lowest risk of wildfire events. The areas highlighted in yellow, you'll see that to the right side of the map, are the tier 2 areas. This is the area near the base of Mount Diablo, and this is the typical medium moderate risk of fire threat. The highlighted red areas, which you'll see on the west side, or the East Bay Hill Ridge area there, that's the extreme fire threat district, which is where we're most concerned for a threat of wildfires. Go ahead with the next slide. So we've been doing a lot of things to improve not only the safety of the electrical lines in Contra Costa County, as well as throughout our territory, but also to enhance the Public Safety Power Shutoff program and reduce the number of customers impacted, as well as reduce the fire risk within our territory. So a lot of the things, I'm just going to highlight these because I'm going to get into more detail on each one of these in just a minute. Some of the things that we've been doing, annual inspections and repair of our transmission and distribution systems. Vegetation management, both annually and what we call enhanced vegetation management program along all of our distribution and transmission lines. System hardening, and I'll explain more detail what that is in just a minute. But this is a process that we use to upgrade everything from the poles and the wires to reduce the potential for fire risk. Targeted device replacement. These are segmented devices that allow us to eliminate some customers from being involved in a public safety power shutoff. We also have a wildfire operations center. It just so happens that that's in San Francisco, and it's a 24/7 operational center that monitors the entire PG&E territory for threat of wildfire. We have weather stations throughout Contra Costa County. We currently have 33. These weather stations are accessible by both our customers and our fire and police agencies to monitor the microclimate weathers within the county. We have high definition cameras, which allow us to operationally see and find immediate threat fires within Contra Costa County. We have our own meteorology department. They continually assess the weather on a daily basis. They give us reports, and they assess whether or not we are imminent for a public safety power shutoff. We have satellite detection. We actually have our own satellite, which allows us through infrared and other technology to monitor for fire threat as well as any damage to our system. Next slide. So I wanted to kind of explain what's new in 2021. We've been involved in public safety power shutoffs since 2019. They are not new to California. In Southern California, they've actually been having public safety power shutoffs for about 10 to 12 years with the Southern utility companies. So we've adapted some of their processes, and we've improved upon those, and we continue to improve upon those to make it safer for our customers, and again, reduce the impact to our customers as much as possible. So again, within the PG&E territory, we have hardened 180 circuit miles. We continue to monitor the weather with over 300 weather stations throughout our territory, and we continually, on an annual basis, manage the vegetation. That's about 1,800 high-risk miles of heavy vegetation in and around our circuits. We have 135 cameras in the PG&E territory, which, again, as I mentioned, monitor the individual locations. You have access to those cameras through alert-wildfire/cameras.org, and you have the ability to view the same views from those cameras that we are able to get. So go ahead to the next slide. Thank you. So regarding some of the systems, and let me talk a little bit about hardening. Hardening means replacing poles that are more resistant to the heavier winds that we've been seeing during a potential PSPS event. We are also replacing our cross arms with stronger cross arms, which do not tend to bend or break during the heavy winds. And in a lot of cases, we are now coating our wires with coatings to keep the wires from arcing and creating those wildfire potentials. So currently in Contra Costa County, we have completed 15 line miles, and another 1 mile is planned in the Concord Walnut Creek area for the hardening systems. We currently have 39 sectionalizing devices in Contra Costa County. With that, a sectionalizing device allows us to take a part of a circuit out of the system and keep it energized, even though it may be in a tier 2 or tier 3 area, because it has a lower risk, and we've done the hardening and or the vegetation mitigation in that area to decrease the threat of wildfires. The enhanced vegetation, we've done over 86 miles, and this is on an annual basis. We do this every year and sometimes multiple times throughout the year. And this manages the vegetation in and around our distribution and our transmission system to diminish the flashy fuels and the ladder fuels that in and around the heavy timbers that we typically see in the open areas. In Contra Costa County, we have currently at least 10 outdoor and 2 indoor community resource centers that we can stand up in the event of a public safety power shutoff. We'll talk more about what a community resource center is and how that benefits the local communities involved in a public safety power shutoff. And again, I mentioned the weather stations and the high definition cameras. These are ongoing in the sense that we are always looking for more places to put weather stations and cameras. So if you have information or thoughts on that, we're happy to hear about that and try to establish additional locations. So what is a public safety power shutoff? Again, most of us have probably gone through it over the last couple of years, and if you haven't, though, I want to just kind of remind you that anytime we start to look at high wind conditions that could damage our power lines or create arcing within our system, what we basically are doing is shutting off those circuits in those high fire risk areas, the tier 2, tier 3, to prevent that arcing from creating a potential catastrophic wildfire. Next slide. So what conditions do we need to see before we actually start to look at the process of a PSPS event? So typically we're going to look at low humidity levels. We say 30% or lower. The reality is when we start getting into the low teens in humidity, this becomes a very high risk to the area, and that creates a risk for a wildfire situation. When we have consistent winds at 20 miles per hour with gusts between 30 and 40 miles per hour, that's an indicator that we may have a PSPS event. Typically on a red flag day. So as you know, we have multiple red flag days throughout the summer. It doesn't mean just because it's a red flag day, you're going to have a PSPS. But if we have all of these conditions at the same time, it allows us to start looking at potential PSPS events. Dry conditions of our materials on the ground. What that basically means, as the temperatures go up, the humidity goes down, and the moisture content in our fuels, our grasses, our shrubs, and our trees drops dramatically. As we get deeper into the summer, those moisture levels become dramatically low, which increases the rapid rate of fire spread once we have ignition. And I think I'm going to turn this over here back to Sarah and allow her to complete the program.
Thank you, Les. So how are we notifying our customers? We're always going to do our best to share what we know about the weather and our equipment as soon as we can, but we always have to keep in mind that weather conditions can be uncertain. So customers can expect to receive notifications 2 days before shutting off power when we are in public safety power shutoff, what we call watch mode. 1 day before turning off the power where we're still in watch mode. Again, just before we de-energize power lines when we are in what we call the warning mode. And then once a day during the PSPS shutoff event, we will notify customers. We'll also notify folks once power has been restored. We will provide updates to our customers through automated calls, texts, and emails. We encourage you to review the contact information we have on file for you. You can do that by visiting pge.com/mywildfirealerts. And then this year, we've also launched our address alerts. So if you're not on a PG&E account holder, you can also receive public safety power shutoff notifications for any address. Or if you want to receive notifications for addresses that aren't necessarily your primary home, like your child's daycare or your work, you can sign up to receive notifications for those addresses as well. So we also provide PSPS updates at pge.com to local news and radio outlets and through social media channels so that we can notify the public in as many ways as possible. So some customer preparedness resources. This year, we're doing more to help customers and communities before, during, and after our PSPS events. We're doing this by partnering with community-based organizations. We're expanding language offerings, providing information regarding all PSPS events in 16 non-English languages. We're increasing our meal replacement options, collaborating with local food banks and Meals on Wheels to provide food replacement packages to cover every county likely to be impacted during a PSPS. We're also collaborating with the Disability Disaster Access and Resource Programs to enable qualifying customers to use electrical medical devices to access backup portable batteries through a grant, lease to own, or financial loan application. Additional assistance through this program includes access to transportation resources, hotel vouchers, and food stipends following a PSPS. In addition, we're providing batteries through the Portable Battery Program for low-income medical-based customers with critical medical needs, and offering customers who depend on well water pumps and live in high fire threat area rebates for purchasing a qualified portable power generator. So as you can see, we're providing lots of ways to notify our customers and lots of services. For additional information, here's some resources you can call, you can email us, and you can visit pge.com/wildfiresafety. Les, did you have another?
Yeah, actually, I'm going to share my screen if that's okay and bring up what we call a flyover of the San Ramon area. First of all, let me check. Can everybody see that screenshot? So this is basically a screenshot of our circuits in the San Ramon area. And if you look at the center part of the screen, that's the downtown San Ramon area. What I wanted to show was an exploited view of where the high fire threat areas are in relationship to San Ramon. So again, on the right, left side of the screen, the red areas are tier 3 areas that would be in the foothills, and as we get into the more hilly terrain area where we have heavier vegetation. And on the right side of the screen is in the yellow areas are the tier 2 areas that border the Tasajara area at the base of Mount Diablo. The majority of the electric circuits, and you'll see the green lines throughout the area, the green indicates these are underground circuits. And why is that important? An underground circuit typically isn't going to create a fire hazard. And so you can see from this that the majority of the circuits in San Ramon are underground, which is great. There are a few that are above ground and that do intersect with both the tier 2 and tier 3. And again, this is the reason behind a PSPS event affecting those particular circuits, and why you, if you live in those tier 2, tier 3 areas, may experience a public safety power shutoff. So I just wanted to kind of re-emphasize what that looks like and offer that up as additional information. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. That's a lot of useful information. We'll have the presentation either bookmarked in our YouTube video or create a separate clip and share that as well for people to go over later. It's amazing the amount of work that goes into it, and I'm glad that you're sharing that with our residents.